Welcome to Fandom Beat. This is another Behind Anime Lines, and this time I am joined by Max Scoville from Destructoid, and also my bud.
Anime.
And he's just going to say the word anime over and over for the whole episode. So strap in for approximately 12 minutes of Max Scoville saying anime.
Anime.
Yep, that's what we're in store for today. Now we're going to talk about Garden of Words, which I think it was his idea to watch.
Was it?
It was, something like that.
I think we were at Fanime and I was very drunk and I was like, Nick, yes, his movie is about rain and phones.
And I was like, rain phones, sign me up. So let's get right into it.
Yeah.
So Garden of Words is a movie that was kind of on my radar for a little while. I think almost entirely because seeing GIFs of it on Tumblr.
Okay.
Just because it's so eye-catching right away. Like there's nothing else that looks like it. How did you end up finding out about it?
So my girlfriend bought a pile of anime from the internet because she thought it was cool. So it was just like we get home and there's an Amazon box and it was just a bunch of stuff in there and I hadn't heard of any of it.
Huh.
I forget what else was in there. There was some other crap, but we pulled this out and I had no preconceived notions at all going in, and I was like, okay, Garden of Words, what could it be about? I have no idea. So we pop it in, immediately blown away because it is, I think, possibly the prettiest animated thing I've seen.
Yep. Yes, it is exactly
and
that.
I feel like a shithead saying that.
Dude, I know, because so first of all, you have like an animation background.
I'm an artsy man.
Yeah,
a little bit.
and we both watched a grip of anime things, but I think it's literally the best one.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I talk a lot on this show about shows that I think look gorgeous, but I think that this one is. I think that Garden of Words might be the best looking animated thing I've ever seen in my life, like period. Just so from because I didn't know going in either what it was either. All I knew was some really pretty leaves, like a blurry cell phone at one point, and just
the
what I
cell phone is one of
GIFs.
the most incredible. Like that's exactly what comes to mind. I think I later saw a GIF of that on Tumblr, and I was like, I know what that's from.
Yeah,
and it's pretty.
It's super pretty.
So why do you think it's pretty? What do you make of it?
I don't know what it is. I think a lot of it is just a hyper attention to detail, right? Like there's so many super tight macro shots. I know there's no camera, but like tight, low depth of field macro shots. And the stuff they do to emulate a camera is crazy too, right? You've got like all this lens flare and shaky cam, and in one scene there's film grain, and just like the lengths that they go to like it looks like a prettier version of real life, I feel like.
Yeah, that's a fair way of looking at it. I think that down to the palette. I think what's interesting here is clearly there's a lot of computer stuff happening here.
Yeah.
And so often when people do computer-generated imagery, anime, whatever it is, even if it's just digitally animating, so often it's either about using as much CG as possible or cutting as many corners as possible.
Yeah.
And this is an exact compromise between traditional animation and the stuff you can get away with using a computer.
Totally. The CG never looks like CG. It never calls attention to itself. It never looks cheap. And then like the traditional animation is still there and still so good. Like they do a lot of tricks with, for example, when something's like edge lit, they don't use black line art. They use like white or cream colored line art. And just like there's so many little things like that where I'm like, you figured out how to achieve a very specific look, but it's also still like there's still traditional animation tricks to it or something.
So the use of color is really interesting because when you have a computer, you have basically limitless color. Like anything that can be shown on a screen, you can replicate. Like if it's a combination of light, we're at that stupid crazy point where, basic color theory is more or less out the window because it's just a matter of taking the eyedropper tool and putting it over something you think is pretty, and there you have that color. I was reading about Akira, for instance.
Yeah.
That was kind of groundbreaking because they used more colors than anyone had used before, and that was all hand-mixed paint. I don't know if they used like Pantone color or whatever, but they had to make up their own colors. Like they had to make up paint, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of that was because there's stuff happening at nighttime and there's more muted tones. In the case of Garden of Words, it's like they were taking advantage of that. They were like, there's no limit on the colors we have here. A lot of it's obviously during rainy time, a lot of rainy stuff, and there's a lot of greens and blues. And I feel like so often with that, it's so easy to be like, we have a lot of color here. It's going to be colorful. And a lot of it manages to be really muted.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
Very, very subdued.
It feels so. There's just such a sense of atmosphere that I feel like they strike. And I think a lot of it is the color choices. A lot of it is just like it feels like rain. Like it feels misty. And then like even the way that they animate water when they do show it. Like there's a couple shots in there of raindrops falling into a puddle from like a few inches away. I like you went into it having no idea what it was about, but I didn't super care going in because I was like, this is going to be visual, like This is going to be animation porn,
Yeah.
period. It could be about nothing, and I'd still be down. There could be no words in it, and I'd still be down. But it turns out
Luckily,
there's
it's a whole garden of
an
words.
entire garden of words.
They have numerous minutes of dialogue
They
in the
do.
film.
And I actually came away like really liking the story.
So what is the story?
So the basic premise is we've got this boy. He goes to this garden and he runs into a girl there who is drinking beer and eating chocolate because she's
Right.
a fucking baller. And they have a couple conversations and then it just goes places from there.
Yeah.
But it's weird. I feel like a movie of this vibe with this atmosphere could really easily have not worried about being boring. But it's still like this movie respects your time and is super well paced, and every scene feels essential in a way that I didn't think it was gonna. I thought this was gonna be like gorgeous, but maybe a little slow and a little quiet. But like no, it moves and things happen, and every scene matters, and that was a nice surprise. Did you end up liking the story?
So there's definitely a lot of nuance there, and I watched it originally, and I came away, and I was like, there's kind of character situation or character decisions where I'm a little bit like. You have to talk about it. You have to think about it afterwards. It's not just like, oh, that happened. The ending is cool and everyone worked out okay. There's a lot of stuff where you're like, what are they thinking? What's the motivation here?
Right.
That's good. That's good drama.
Totally.
I think that, yeah, the kind of the brevity and the concise nature of it, and it doesn't, inundate you with exposition or with just trying to be like stylized, and at the same time, it doesn't just waste your time and be like, look at the tree. Look at the tree. Do you like the tree? Because it's still there. And yeah, it's a short film. It's like, 40 minutes long?
Yeah,
something
exactly.
like that. I think that it does this thing that I really appreciate in anime and games, in films, and it creates a world out of, I would say it eats its vegetables. It is not afraid of being like, here's a phone sitting on a carpet that's plugged into a USB cable. For a lot of people, that could be just like, here's a gray rectangle that we sort of did a light on to you so you know her alarm's going off. This is like, here is a still life. Every single frame, there is something to look at, and there is attention paid accordingly to everything.
Yeah.
And they're like, you want to see, there's a tree and some water? Like, it's I guess a very, very artistic approach where you have to learn to kind of just really appreciate what you're creating.
Yeah.
A lot of things, they want to rush straight, they don't want to eat their vegetables. They want to rush straight through to dessert. They want to be like, here's the part where the robot comes through the wall and it blows up all the shit
My
with
favorite
its
scene in
guns.
Garden of Words.
And all this stuff up until that, they're like, yeah, they're at computers, but who cares what the computers look like?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh yeah, and it's like, here's Spaceman's in his bunk. What does his bunk look like?
Mm-hmm.
Does he have blankets? Does he have shit on the walls? Like, there's a sense of actual place. Like, the product placement in this movie is really interesting. I'm always kind of curious about what the sort of the business side of that is.
Yeah.
The brother wears a lot of Fila shirts.
Suntory makes
Yeah.
a couple appearances.
Suntory Premium Malt. That's a fine beer. I'm not as well versed in chocolate as I am in Japanese beer, but I imagine that's similar branding. The Suica, Japan rail card that he swipes to get in on the train. That's a thing. And it's just these little details like. They're not like, what does a bus pass look like? I don't know, just draw a red square and call it a day.
Totally.
It's like actually going out and looking at things and paying attention. I mean, I guess you could say attention to detail. I say eating your vegetables.
I think that's a good way of putting it because like they never brush over. They never like nothing. There's not a frame of this movie that's half-assed. ever.
Exactly.
And like the opening few lines of the movie is the protagonist on a train talking about like the smell of a train in the morning and like the front of his shirt getting slightly damp and rumpled in the rain. Like this is a movie about detail. I feel like it's about
The sky
like,
was a lot closer when I was younger.
yeah, the attention to detail is absurd. It's unlike anything I've ever seen, to the point that the environments actually almost feel like they get more attention than the characters. Like everyone looks awesome, but their faces are a little more minimal, a little more restrained, and like a little less detailed than the world they're in, which is cool. I would almost like to see this approach though taken to a world that doesn't exist, because this is a beautiful, stunning recreation of our world.
That's why I like Akira so much, Nick.
Yeah.
It's these little things, it's the things in daily life that really bring it together. And I think it's interesting that there's so much attention paid to the cell phone on the carpet or the brand of beer or whatever. And then at the same time, you've got these characters who are, you kind of have to piece together what they're feeling because they're, minimal expression, minimal,
Yeah.
you are able to kind of create them as how you want them to look. And that's kind of the beauty of animation, I guess.
The food in this movie also is just the best, most like, there's a whole world out there of delicious looking anime foods, but I feel like this is probably the king of them. Just seeing vegetables getting chopped and just the amount of detail that they bring to those food scenes is like ridiculous.
I don't know, I think Spirited Away still trumps it.
Yeah? Is there a specific food in Spirited Away that...
It's the whole buffet in the beginning with the mom and dad just eating the pork buns, and it's gross. It does this thing where it goes from being like, ooh, delicious food, and then you're like, I'm scared of the food. It's gonna make you turn into pigs.
Totally. But like the scene where where there's like a meal being prepared and like you're seeing vegetables being sliced up, and the omelet, like the rice omelet, I'm just like, this is like it actually seems less concerned with being appetizing and more concerned with being photorealistic, and like there's something about that's prettier than
it's like I said, eating your vegetables. It's also drawing your
vegetables.
I don't know. I mean, like I went to art school, and the thing that I wish that I'd fully appreciated going through school is that like I want to draw Spaceman. I want to draw the knights, and I want to draw a dragon. Like I want to draw all this stupid wizard crap.
Yeah.
And because it's fun, and I enjoy drawing it. And the teacher's like, can you draw this ginger root, this old shoe, and this gravy boat? And I'm like, those are all hard to draw, and I don't want to draw them because they're boring. And I had to sit there for 9 hours realistically drawing a fucking gravy boat, which is the word. I threw it in the garbage afterwards. I took it from the prop closet and threw it away because I hated that gravy boat so much. But the thing is I had to actually pay attention to what it looked like and really get a sense of what it is. And Garden of Words does that every step of the way. It's just this understanding that like if you rush through it, it's gonna look like hot trash and all the parts where you're not drawing the thing that you want to be drawing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there should be more robot fights in this anime.
Could have used a couple more.
Yeah.
2 or 3 more would have really sealed
And there
the
was
deal
no
for me.
part in the bathhouse where the old man gets a nosebleed.
Right.
Oh, that was dumb.
Why was there no...
There's no tits.
No boobs at all.
No panty shots.
What? 2 thumbs down. 0 stars.
Worst anime I've ever
Worst
seen.
anime ever.
It's pretty, but there's no robots or boobies.
Very few robots.
Yeah.
So that's what we thought of Garden of Words. You should watch it yourself because it's like 45 minutes and it's really good. And let us know what you thought of it in the comments. We'll be there hanging out and chatting you up about anime. Max, plug your internet stuff.
So we're trying to do a little bit of anime here and there.
Yeah.
I'm over on youtube.com/dtoid, making as many videos as I can. It's literally me and one other guy named Bill.
I know that
and
feeling,
we are in my kitchen talking about some stuff. I made a little video about Akira because I did it on Canada Day. And I was like, Canada Day? What about Canada Day? So I did that.
Jokes.
So if you like that, then go check that out.
And then you also have another show that has a terrible anime pun in the title, right?
Yeah, we have Just Saiyan. Which is
Saiyan.
literally us playing Dragon Ball games for hours and talking about them.
Shameful. I know nothing about having a show with a terrible anime pun.
I'm actually
name.
mad that you have this. I'm angry that you thought of this.
Behind anime lines.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You are now my anime. You
Ah,
are my
well,
sworn anime.
The anime of my anime is my friend. So.
What?
Hey, speaking of anime, Crunchyroll.com is a sponsor of Behind Anime Lines. So if you want to watch anime on the internet, it is a really, really good website to do it.
Yeah, and it's not just a website. They got apps on all these different machines that you can use it to watch it with.
iPads.
The games.
But yeah, if you go to crunchyroll.com/fandebeat, you'll get a 14-day free trial. Watch all these animes in 1080p, like right after they come out in Japan, simulcast with real professional, fancy subtitles. They got all sorts of. They got Sailor Moon Crystal on there now. You heard of this?
Yeah, they do. Go watch Harlock Saga. It's from the 70s. It's about a pirate.
Dang.